Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. We've got a lot to discuss, Michael Cohen. You know, it's interesting because all of the economic data coming in is horrible. I mean, we literally have all of the kind of, major leaders, whether it's Home Depot, whether it's Target, you name it, and they're out there saying the freight, the shipments are not coming in. We're going to have scarcity. Like, there are real issues with this trade war against China. We're seeing it in the housing market, a major downturn there. Like, we're seeing the data, Cohen.
When you hear Ken Griffin turn around from Citadel, and who is a big supporter, a big financial supporter of Trump, turn around and say, hey, this is a bad move, and you're really hurting not just the American economy, but the global economy. Yeah, Ben, you're spot on.
No, absolutely. And then I want to show you what is going down in this Oval Office meeting today. So he was meeting with the Prime Minister of Norway, and the former NATO Secretary General was on as well. Let me just show you what went down. So as ballistic missiles were raining down on Kyiv, I mean, another brutal targeting of innocent people by Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump was attacking Zelensky yesterday. And then today, Donald Trump's response after the devastating strike on Kyiv was basically like, hey, Putin, please be nice. Like, it's very upsetting. Like, you're making me a little upset. Like, it's not very helpful. Like, he'll attack Zelensky for getting attacked by Putin. And then when Putin attacks, it's like, it's not very helpful to the negotiations there. Can you please maybe stop the ballistic missile strikes? So Donald Trump has asked what concessions has Russia.
Ben, let's be fair. You know, we have our brigaders on with us, so we have to be fair. He did say stop in all caps.
He did say stop.
Ben, that connotes seriousness, and you know, nothing says to a world dictator more to promote the seriousness than all caps by Trump in the Truth Social post.
You know, I teach negotiation at law school. And so one of the things that I start off with, how to be a good negotiator day one, is I teach my class. I say, look, do you have a social media platform? Raise your hand. They raise their hands. And I say, let me explain to you how I get deals done. I said, all caps, ranting, raving, whining, 2 a.m. in the morning. Nothing conveys the seriousness of the moment like an all caps social media ranting and raving post at 2 a.m. And the class is like, great, let me do it. Let me try to, like, Ben, what a perfect formula. I mean, when Donald Trump is dealing with Xi Jinping of China, Vladimir Putin of Russia, or whoever, and Donald Trump's tactic is to go on Truth Social and post in all caps with exclamation points and random words being capitalized, it conveys the utter stupidity of this all. And then, when Donald Trump, lies to the American people and says, look, I'm having these conversations with Xi Jinping. We're talking and we're moving the conversations forward. And then Xi Jinping has the foreign minister of China say fake news. We're having no such conversations, nor will we agree to have conversations unless and until the unilateral tariffs against China are removed. You have to unwind what you created, then we'll talk. All Donald Trump is doing is manipulating our markets here, which may be the outcome of this, because our markets here are now a Trump meme coin, right? That's what they look like. Trump says something, the markets go up, believing, again, the fraud that Donald Trump's saying. Trump is a criminal. Trump is a felon.
Are those the same coins, by the way, Ben, that he handed out to the wounded veterans, allowing them to pick and choose which ones?
Coin.
You get a black coin, you get a red coin, and anybody else want a different color coin? We got all different color coins.
When he was speaking to those veterans in the room, the wounded veterans who had lost their legs in war in Kandahar, and Trump said, you got hit or something? Hit you good?
Yeah,
hit you good? He goes, He goes, it hit you good? Oh, good. Got it. And then he's like, you want a coin? He's like, the veterans, they like the black one. That's how he said it. The black one. Do you want the black one? And then so the wounded veteran who doesn't have his legs is like, yeah, I'll take the black one. And then Donald Trump looks at the camera as though it's the worst episode of The Apprentice. And he's like, he likes the black one. He liked the black one, and I'm watching this, Cohen, and I'm thinking to myself, y'all, this ain't normal.
Why were you not thinking, what the hell is Michael screaming at the television about now?
I'm watching this defraud the markets, saying that there are conversations that are not happening, which Wall Street's responding to, Cohen, and pretending that these things are moving in the right direction. When if we use actual science, facts, data, we can look at freight, right? We can see the fact that there are empty vessels or vessels not coming to shore. We can see by tracking the trucking data that trucking volumes are plummeting. So we know where this is going. But of course I talked to China. And China's like, nope, haven't talked to them. And then our markets are like, maybe he talked to them. It's like, don't you all realize where this goes? While then Trump has wounded veterans who no longer have their legs because they've heroically sacrificed themselves. And he's like, you want the black one? And while that's going on, you have Donald Trump signing executive orders in the Oval Office to ban diversity, equity, and inclusion in universities. And he's like, I think a quote was like, we've been in that jungle already. We've been saying the most horrific,
you guys know what that's like. You know what it's like down that jungle. I mean, this is a real battle. This is a real battle. What are you battling over? Whether you're taking Econ 1 or Econ 2 and whether or not your class is going to be all white Southern Christian nationalists or it's going to have some diversity into it. This whole thing, if this wasn't reality, this would actually be one of the funniest skits that the writers of Saturday Night Live could actually make up. I mean, you're talking about giving wounded soldiers. I'll tell you what, why don't you keep your fucking coins and why don't you rehire the 80,000 plus people that you just fired, that you had Elon Musk and this Doji bullshit fire, that are going to provide services for these wounded vets, whether it's physical wound or emotional wounds. How about start with that? I mean, it's so ridiculous what we're going through. And I have a hard time believing that this is actually what's going on in the sacred grounds of the Oval Office. I'm almost mortified the fact that the media covers this stupid shit. And then the worst is that the rest of the country, Ben, they're watching. Our adversaries are laughing. Our allies are horrified. And the American people are sitting there and saying, what the fuck?
You have Governor Walz from Minnesota giving the State of the State address in Minnesota. And I want to, before even showing Trump clips, let me just show you. Yeah, Jeremy, we'll play that one first, then we'll do the next one after. Let's take a look at what Governor Walz had to say, because this could have been one of the leaders right now in this moment, and we would not be in this. Like if we literally picked a caring, compassionate person who was focused like he was or is in Minnesota on helping people and using government to uplift people and to provide resources to people, but also be good for the business community and listen to people, we'd be in a much different situation now. Here, play this clip of Governor Walz.
And on an hour-by-hour, day-by-day basis, the President of the United States has chosen to throw our economy into turmoil, Global markets are teetering on the brink of collapse. Businesses across this country and here in Minnesota are already laying off employees by the thousands. Working people are paying more for basic goods, and if you haven't checked your 401k lately, don't do it. So let's be very clear. None of this had to happen. When the president took office 3 months ago, there was no reason to throw a wrench in the works and destroy decades of work. But if you listen to anything that comes out of his mouth, one thing has become clear. He's just plain confused about how the world really works for working people. We're talking about a guy that slapped a 10% tariff on an island populated only by penguins. It'd be funny as hell if it wasn't true and stupid. It makes no sense to anyone. That isn't servant leadership. It's not any kind of leadership. It's small, it's weak, and it's petty. It takes the awesome power of the federal government and turns it into a crude weapon, wielded by a man who wants to be king. As governor, I will continue to do everything in my power to protect Minnesotans from getting hurt and continue to provide shelter from the storm for Minnesotans.
Here's another clip of Governor Walz from that State of the State address. Let's play the other clip, Remy.
This budget was not written to please everyone. It was written to bring everyone to the table. And when we get there, we're going to have disagreements, no doubt. My progressive friends might have wished we were cutting a little less. My conservative friends might wish we were cutting a little bit more. My wife wishes that I would take the pay raise that was offered, but I turn it down. But this is how government's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be one old man sitting in the Oval Office sending out middle-of-the-night tweets that shot markets into freefall. It's not supposed to be a bunch of 20-somethings unelected showing up at federal agencies and firing everyone. It's not supposed to be chaos and destruction. It's supposed to be good people elected by their neighbors with differing opinions coming together to negotiate in good faith.
Wow.
You know,
Right? I mean,
Ben, let me say something for a quick sec. Stay with me on this because I'm not 100% certain that you're being fair to Trump. Okay? The penguins have been fucking with this country forever. Okay? Ben, don't laugh about it. The penguins have taken advantage of our country and Trump has had enough. But while all this is going on, with all of this chaos and everybody wants to attack him and say Donald bad this, Donald bad that, he didn't give kids chocolate eggs for the Easter egg roll. No, he used real eggs, 30,000 of them at $58 to $60 a dozen, right, for a packet of, because it's 85% down and now eggs are like $6 a carton, blah blah blah, which would bring the price to like $58 or $60, for your eggs. He's actually paying for 2 flagpoles out of his own money, Ben. So before everybody starts to go ahead and attack Donald for doing what they're doing, all right, remember, he's making the White House better. 1 flagpole at a time, 1 egg salad at a time. And I think it's wrong if we don't acknowledge that and send him a thank you letter.
well, look, Trump, during this Oval Office press conference, said, again, it's just a lie. Like, all of these things are just lies. And it shouldn't shock you that someone who is a fraud and someone who is a felon lies. It's very it's simple. Like, there's a reason why people who engage in bad conduct should be held accountable, which did not happen with this guy because he wasn't, and now he's doing it more. He's doing it worse. So here he is lying and saying groceries are down, things are great. He says egg prices are down 87%, which, Cohen on Friday, they were down 93 to 94% is what he said. And now he's saying they're down 87%. Let's take a look at what he said.
By the way, Ben, before you go ahead and show, can I show you what was going on with those eggs that these kids grabbed at the Easter egg roll?
Mm-hmm. 30,000 eggs from Trump White House eat 50 cents. And
These kids are so freaking smart, right? They're over there. They're over there on Pennsylvania Avenue. They set up shop. I mean, as kids, we used to sell lemonade. These kids are selling eggs and they're racking in the money. I heard one kid just bought an airplane.
Let's take a look at what he said from the Oval. Let's play it.
You know, if you look at what happened, everyone said, oh, I said I was going to get prices down. I did. Energy just hit $1.98 in a couple of states. It's way down. Energy's down, and we're about $64 a barrel. When I came in, and we were looking at $89, $90, $95. And by the way, that helps us solve the war, too. Having those energy prices is a big incentive for Russia to also agree with solving the war problem. Groceries are down. When I was with you 2 months ago, you were complaining about eggs. I said, I just got here. I was here for about a week when the press started saying about eggs have gone through the roof. I said, I just got here. Tell me about eggs. And they happened. They went through the roof and you couldn't get them. So we just had a big Easter egg hunt at the White House, thousands and thousands of eggs, and the price was down 87%. So we did a great job.
No, you didn't. You did a bad job. You are committing fraud right now. You were lying. That's not true. But it's just a deluge of fraud, of lie after lie after lie. It shouldn't be the case, Cohen, but here we are, where the government of China puts out a statement, the United States puts out a statement, and you go, as between China and Trump, who do we think is telling the truth right now? It's not even a question. And that's as an American, it is an unfortunate thing to go.
What's unfortunate is the fact that their message should be identical. Ben, you and I are engaged in a negotiation. We're talking about X, Y, and Z. It doesn't make a difference. Pick your poison.
And when you go there, you and I have been involved in high-profile negotiations before in our separate worlds. You've negotiated for Trump before. I've negotiated big endorsement deals and other things in my past life as a lawyer. So go.
Okay. And so we're engaged in a conversation at some point in time. Okay, maybe there might be confusion on a term, but chances are what you would tell your people and I would tell my people are identical. We may use different language, we may use some different words, but the terms, the negotiated terms, are identical. You can't talk about $1.98 energy. First of all, what is he even talking about? Is he talking about electricity per kilowatt? Is he talking about a price per gallon of gasoline? Is that regular? Is the diesel? What the hell is he talking about? I mean, is it Con Edison per? I don't know what he's even talking about, because when I heard $1.98, I started to Google what energy is at $1.98, and there is nothing. And you're 100% right when you say the fact that we are acknowledging Xi Jinping and China in terms of what they are saying over the president of the United States, to me, is as screwed up as when Donald Trump in Helsinki turned around and said that he trusts Putin more than he trusts our intelligence community. That, to me, is so insulting. I am so insulted that he has made us believe and to know that he is full of shit, that he is lying every time he goes on camera, and that we have to acknowledge the likes of Xi Jinping, a dictator who lies continuously, but we believe Xi Jinping better than we believe our own president. That, my friends, is a hell of a trick.
Well, and it's also because we believe what we're seeing. If there were productive conversations taking place, we would start to see publicly indicia of progress, right? It wouldn't be, in super secret mode. I think you would start to see why would China want to not talk about things that are moving in the right directions. Like, we know that trans-Pacific trade, freight, we know that it's down. We know that China has stopped rare earth mineral exports. They're doing the things to clearly suggest that there's no productivity in these negotiations at all. One of the things also, Cohen, that we would know in a negotiation is you would not, in a important negotiation, you would not want to put out public information about your adversary in the negotiation that was incorrect or false, because that could blow up the negotiation. And one of the things that I saw is actually China was doing what I would do in a negotiation, or a smart negotiator would do, is you would not go to try to publicly, make statements that are not accurate or exaggerating. You are, trying to, like, I genuinely think China would like to make a deal. Like, it's not a great thing that there's a trade war in general that's disrupting the world order, although I think it presents an opportunity for China. But then Donald Trump goes out, makes this statement. So then China has to respond to it. And all they're saying is, no, until you remove unilateral tariffs, we don't want to talk to you. Cohen, they've been consistent on that message. They haven't changed that.
And you and I have been consistent on a very specific message. And that specific message is that none of this should be even taking place right now. None of this is necessary. This is all a self-inflicted wound. This is shooting yourself in the foot and blaming the gun manufacturer. This was unnecessary. It makes no sense. And again, now you're sitting there and you're lying about conversations. Do you know, when he was in the Oval Office, I don't know if Jeremy has the video of it. He's sitting in the Oval Office. He doesn't even know how many people. Imagine this. You create this global turmoil and you don't even know how many approximately phone calls that you've received or that people are engaging in. If this was the Trump organization, every person that is speaking to one of the countries that now have been hit with this tariff, we would walk into Trump's office and we'd say, hey, I just spoke to Canada, Mexico, I spoke to New Zealand, I spoke to the Penguins, I spoke to blah, 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 blah. And we would give him a list and he would have that list. He would actually know because he cared about it. It's as if he doesn't even get, so he goes, Howard, how many people have we been speaking to? You see, he knows it's a small number, so he knows Howard's going to lie because they've already had this conversation. But now the lie is not on Trump. The lie is on the Secretary of Commerce. That's the game he's playing. It's why Howard's life there is going to be short-lived. It's why Tom Homan's life there is going to be very short-lived. It's why Pete Hegseth is going to be shit-canned relatively soon. This is the game. This is the way that Trump plays the game.
And the way he plays the game has resulted almost more often than not in him bankrupting an entity. You go back through his history, he bankrupted multiple casinos. He bankrupted multiple entities, the things he licensed his name to, went out of business. He has to give those disclosures in his Trump media SEC stock disclosure. And here's the thing that I'm worried about. I drew this, Cohen, and what I drew right here is the way the market looks, and it's the market going down.
Oh, I thought that was my EKG.
But in the market going down, where I circled, the market goes, up and then down, up then down, but the trend is down. When I worry about what's happening right now, because when I'm watching truck volume, freight volume, when I'm looking to see if vessels are being canceled, when I look at inventory of manufacturers and importers, when I see auto manufacturers freaking out, what really concerns me is that kind of tsunami effect where the shore recedes and the tsunami is coming. And I think we're heading towards a summer of scarcity, the likes of which are worse than even a COVID situation where people couldn't get toilet paper. And I'm not saying that to fearmonger. I'm saying that because I'm listening to what these CEOs are talking about with their inventory, and there's a lag time. A lot of companies actually prepared and stockpiled on inventory the rare earth minerals in general in case of emergencies. So they're working off their old inventory right now. The problem is that new inventory is not coming in. We do $2-3 trillion annually in trade with China, and there's now essentially an embargo on that trade going both ways. There's a lag time for that to hit. And so what's going to start to happen, and then the markets are going to react negatively when there's these oh shit moments that happen, is in a Walmart or a Target or whatever,
Yep.
there's not going to be the things on the shelf. And then there's going to be people saying, whoa, what's that? There's going to be situations as it gets close to school supplies where you won't be able to get your school supplies, or you won't be able to get parts for an air conditioning. Just everything. It becomes problematic. And what did they say they were going to do? 90 trade deals in 90 days. Any one of these trade deals, if done correctly with a nation, takes 3 to 5 years to negotiate a major trade deal. There's no such thing as a trade deal.
But Ben, you're not reading between the Trump line. Please repeat 90. Please repeat that line. And I'm going
90 trade deals in 90 days.
He didn't tell you who they're with, and he didn't tell you when the 90 days starts. That's the whole part about Trump. It is deceptive. It is deflective. It is a lie. You know, people automatically start to think 90 trade deals, okay, all right, in 90 days, that we're starting today or tomorrow. He doesn't tell you what 90 days he's talking about. Maybe it's 90 days and 90 years from now. You know, this is how he rationalizes the lies in his own head. It's really very disturbing. And you know what? I'm so thankful. I really am, that I'm here with you today to sort of break this bullshit down for our brigaders. You know, it's the problem that I write about in my Substack, and that, Ben, you guys were kind enough to put it out there on your digital platform, which is enormous. The fact that we're able to say things on this independent network because we're not beholden to investors, not beholden to advertisers, where we're not worried about the administration throwing us out of the briefing room, the Oval Office, or Air Force One. In fact, if they had any spine, they would turn around and say, we're not coming back into the briefing room to let bullshit Barbie spin some nonsense where all of a sudden you have Howard Lutnick saying 90, how it's an even number, not 91, not 92, 90 deals are in the process of taking place right now, when Caroline Levitt says it's in the hundreds. I mean, can we get a fact right? Can we have some honesty, please? But then again, what did you expect? The entire campaign was predicated on lies. And for whatever the reason might be, the plurality of Americans chose the bullshit artist versus the black woman. Let's just call it what it is. This is what we are dealing with.
It is easier to con someone than to convince somebody they've been conned. It is easier to con and defraud someone than to convince them that it's happened. And that is a major psychological thing that our founders did their best to build structures and checks and balances around to try to avoid situations like this. Although they were very fearful of the vulnerability in an executive branch demagogue, and they almost described Donald Trump to a T in the Federalist Papers of the damage that could cause.
Yeah.
I think they were hopeful that when the different branches of government protected their own turf, that would be stopped. Their ultimate backstop, though, was federalism, that where the branches don't check, if the judicial branch is captured. By the way, I think the federal judiciary, while I hate a lot of the Supreme Court rulings, they've held on certain core issues for now, some of them. When it comes to the legislative branch, Article 1 totally has collapsed under the MAGA Republicans. You are seeing those states and state governors protective, not in the red states, they've capitulated, but we are seeing in certain blue states, Democratic governors, I think, step up. And that is something to, I think, be happy about, that last check and guardrail. But to your point, we're past constitutional crisis. We have our own Viktor Orban, our own Javier Milei, our own Nayib Bukele, a Putin bootlicker who wakes up middle of the night and makes posts that manipulate and disrupt the markets, that cause havoc, that cause pain and suffering in the people, and he doesn't give a shit. And the qualities here, though, none of this should be surprising. And as I've said before, we'll go to a quick break right now. Donald Trump is a criminal. He's a felon. He committed fraud. We know that he's found liable for fraud. We've seen the case. If you followed the case, you know what he does with valuations. That was a finding by the judge, that he made up valuations. So he makes up numbers. He makes up things. 97%, 95%, 87%, $1.95. You go, where are these numbers coming from? Nowhere. They're lies. He's making them up. That's the answer. But this has real world consequences on people's lives. I want to talk more about that when we come back from our first and only break of the show. I want to remind everybody to subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Make sure you also subscribe to the Mea Culpa podcast, wherever audio podcasts are available. And then Michael Cohen and I will be hosting our Patreon next Tuesday. Meet us there. We'll give a state of the Beatdown Brigaders next Tuesday. We will take a quick break. It's our only quick break of the show. We'll be right back with more Political Beatdown.
You ever tried launching a podcast with zero experience? Well, let me tell you something. It's like being tossed into a cage match with a grizzly bear, blindfolded, wearing clown shoes. Because when I started Political Beatdown with Ben, I thought, come on, man, how hard can this be? Script writing, logos, production schedules, ad deals, and don't even get me started on the tech setup. I mean, I feel like I was decoding a damn matrix. Now, if only I had Shopify when I launched this beast. Shopify is the platform behind millions of businesses across the globe, responsible for a whopping 10%. You hear that? 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. And my friends, that's not hype. That's fact. From big names like Mattel and Gymshark to folks just getting their hustle off the ground, Shopify's got their back. I mean, you want a gorgeous online store? Shopify's got hundreds of sleek, ready-to-go templates that make you look like a design god. AI tools? Yeah, they've got those too. Writing your podcast descriptions, jazzing up your images, maybe even making you sound smarter than you are. I mean, not naming names. And you need a marketing squad? Shopify's built-in tools let you hit email, Instagram, TikTok, wherever your customers are scrolling or doom scrolling. And listen, Shopify handles it all. Inventory, returns, international shipping. I mean, they are the ride or die business partner that you never knew you needed. So if you got a big idea or even a little one and you're ready to turn that dream into a reality, head over to shopify.com/beat. That's shopify.com/beat to start your $1 per month trial today. That's Shopify, shopify.com/beat. You know, some nights I just want to relax without wrecking myself for the next day. No hangover, no fog, no what the hell happened to my workout routine. I mean, that's why I've been turning to Sol's out of office gummies. It is a total lifesaver. Now, here's the deal. I stick to the CBD ones only. I mean, they help me unwind, they help me to clear my head, and they keep me grounded without the high. For someone like me who's juggling 1,000 things and still trying to dodge insanity, CBD hits the sweet spot. Calm, focused, present, and not waking up feeling like I did shots with Rudy the night before. Now, Sol is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Everything they make is from organically farmed, USA grown hemp, vegan, gluten-free, and low in sugar. So basically, I can feel good about what I'm putting into my body, which is more than I can say for half the things I did while I was working for Trump. Now, my friends, that's a different story. I hand out CBD plus THC gummies like party favors, and they love them. It's a great buzz, good vibes, no hangover. Everyone's happy, and no one's texting their ex at 2 a.m. And if you like their out-of-office gummies, you got to try their new out-of-office beverage. It's alcohol-free, refreshing, and perfect for sipping without sabotaging tomorrow. So bring on the good vibes and treat yourself to Sol today. And right now, Sol is offering my audience 30% off your entire order. Go to getsol.com. That's GETSOUL.com and use code BEAT, B-E-A-T. That's getsol.com, promo code BEAT for 30% off. And trust me, whether you're CBD, THC, or, I don't know, little of both, Sol's got your back. Go there now.
Great ad reads there, Michael Cohen. The discount codes are in the description below. And I was reflecting on that first segment that we did, Cohen, and I'm not really a corporate news watcher anymore, although we have people who watch it to determine what's being said and how it's being said. And it's just, I go back to what Bernie Sanders said to me, that sometimes the most important issues out there is what's not being discussed. And I think about, are they talking about on corporate news what's happening with freight volumes? Are they talking about what's happening with trucking volumes decreasing? Are they talking about rare earth minerals? Are they talking about China reaching out and having this détente with Europe, removing sanctions from Europeans to strengthen relationships there? Are they talking about the Canadian election, where there's been a complete flip, where the Conservative Party was expected to win, and now the Liberal Party is expected to get a majority after Canadians viewed the Conservative Party at the federal level there as being MAGA Maple or Maple MAGA, and doing what Trump wanted, and how Canada is leading a boycott of the world against the United States tourism and against United States products, with Donald Trump threatening annexation. Are we fully appreciative of the fact that tourism has plunged to such a low level in the United States right now that it could cause $90 to $120 billion in damages just to our tourism industry here? And the answer to all of those questions, Michael Cohen, is those things are not being covered. So what ends up happening? What ends up happening is people wake up one day, right? Maybe it's June 11th or May 16th, right? And then a thing just happens. And then it's reported as, oh my God, what's going on? And then the media devotes all its attention to this narrative. But what they've never done was pull the thread to demonstrate how we are getting here in the first place. And I view it as a civic duty, and frankly, the purpose and the reason for being of this network, to say, look, everybody, it may not be the greatest soundbite to watch me and Michael Cohen and others talk about freight volumes and trucking volumes, or to talk about layoffs in specific factories, to talk about statements being made and securities phone calls with Target and Walmart, but we are evaluating the trend to show you where it's heading. And when everybody was not talking about tourism being crushed the way it is, what were we saying? I said,
Right.
who's thinking this is going to be a $2 billion hit? What
But
did we say?
not,
This is
certainly
gonna be
not Trump when he's sitting in the Oval Office and there was a Canadian reporter that asked him the question, are you concerned about the fact that countries, we'll just mention Canada for a moment, have decided or that they have told their citizens not to travel to America for tourism? And he turned around and he says, we're the greatest country in the world and everybody still wants to come here. I know nothing about that. I've heard nothing about that. This is, again, misinformation, whereby if you are hypothetically, let's say, Floridian, where there is an enormous number of Canadians that travel to Canada for long periods of time, many of them own properties in the United States. They come to America for vacation year after year after year. Well, right now, it's not just that they're not taking our products, and the products that are American that were on the shelves have been put in the basement. They're not even coming to America because they're sick and tired of Donald bashing their country, sick and tired of them calling the prime minister the governor of the 51st state. They're sick and tired of the attacks on Canada as saying that they're a bunch of leeches that are using our country to pay for their defense, that without America, Canada would be lost. Well, it's not true. It's not true. And let me just say one last thing, Ben. I want to thank all of our Canadian followers. There's an enormous number of Canadians that actually follow Ben, myself, both here on Political Beatdown and all of the various different properties on this incredible independent Midas Touch network. They are phenomenal with when Ben talks about elbows up. In fact, if you are Canadian, just turn around and call yourself with a maple Midas, right? And that way we'll know legitimately how many people here are from the North, our cousins from the North. It is so, half my family lives in Toronto. They're so sick and tired of listening to Trump. They're so sick and tired of listening to him bash their country. You know, they have pride too. Like we have pride, they have pride too. And for whatever the reason might be, and nobody knows the answer, even Trump doesn't know the answer. Why? Why? What was the benefit? What was the purpose of doing this? There is no answer.
You know, one of the things that, in terms of focusing on the trends, how big of a deal Trump's attack on Canada was going to be. From day one after the election, when no one was focused on it, we were focused on it, and we were talking to Canadians. And when Donald Trump used the language of conquest, annexation, it's not a trade war that Donald Trump is threatening. The way Canadians perceive it, and they're right, is that Donald Trump is threatening an actual war. When Donald Trump says that Canada would cease to exist if it wasn't for him and the United States of America, that is Putin denazification language directed at Ukraine. Trump's version of Putin saying denazification is Trump saying fentanyl. And Trump goes, Canada is sending its fentanyl into the United States. That's Trump's pretext when Canada is not doing it. There's a lot of other people you can criticize for doing that. It's not Canada. But Trump lumps Canada in there. And Trump genuinely wants to make it the 51st state. It's not a joke. He wants to conquer it. And the Canadian people understand that. And our media here would even take it, you know, look at the strong, even when they write about it now and you see some of the headlines, they're like, the Canadian elections are shifting based on the strong rhetoric. It's not rhetoric, it's Trump threatening to kill Canadians. And Canadians are responding and saying, we don't want to become, we are we are strong, we are North, we are Canada. That's what they're saying. And so the impact that Canada had, Cohen, has right now, it's not just Canada. And here's the thing. And I think when you look elsewhere across the country, across the world as well, the politicians who are popular in their countries are those who are standing up to Donald Trump. The leaders who are weak and who are polling bad in their countries, that are not authoritarian countries, that is,
Right.
are the ones who are sucking up to Donald Trump or appearing weak as directed towards Donald Trump. Because where the people are, where human beings are, who don't live under authoritarian regimes yet or still, recognize disgusting behavior. It's not a political game. Trump is a disgusting, vile piece of trash. And the way he behaves is gross. It's disgusting. It is the behavior of just an evil, bad person. And so we have to stop overcomplicating it. And where the people are in resistance, opposition, shut this down mode, because we all respect and understand and appreciate the danger. And then there's a group of people, for whichever reasons, either they have zombified MAGA mush brains, and as I said, it's easier to con someone than to convince someone that they've been conned, or they believe that this is their elevator to the penthouse, that this is their ticket to the oligarchy, or they're part of the oligarchy. That's what fits into that frame. And so it will be interesting to see, what happens at the election coming up in less than 4 days away from the election in Canada, when all's said and done. And Cohen, all the polls don't vote, people vote. So I'll wait until we see those results. And everybody's civic duty is to get out there and vote. Although I hear right now from a lot of people in Canada who consider themselves Conservative Party people, who may even vote, like in Ontario, from Premier Doug Ford, who go, for this election, I can't vote for Poilievre because he's Maple MAGA. And when I say he's Maple MAGA, just to be clear, what I mean by that also is he did the exact Trump playbook. He went on the right-wing podcast shows like Jordan Peterson.
Yep.
He talked about the woke mind virus. He got elevated by Elon. He had his emissaries like Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta, go to Mar-a-Lago and try to coordinate Trump engaging in election interference to tip the scales towards Poilievre. Poilievre wanted to do his own version of Doge and get rid of their social service programs there with Musk. And so there was all of that. But you know what? I'll toss it over to you, Cohen, because I'm speaking for long. But Canada, in many ways, is basically getting to do the redo election that America doesn't have right now. Like what Canada is able to do, because they were going to vote before Trump. They were going to vote for their version of Trump. They were going to vote Poilievre. But they've had the opportunity to see it and go, do we like that? Or do we not like that? Now, whoa, we don't want to be that, Cohen.
Yeah, look, we can sit and we can dissect all of the stupidity that is emanating from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The folks that Trump nominated for high positions. It's always too easy to just give the two-finger salute to Trump, because every single day he does something more despicable, more damaging to our country, to Americans, to the world. So it's almost like not fair to give the two-finger salute to Donald ever. I have to say, though, that while I am still tempted to do that, I have to shift focus for 1 second, because Ben and I, unfortunately, we get onto these rants. We ignored Pete Hegseth, the sequel to Signalgate 2, right? This it's the stupidity that just is ongoing. You know, I'll tell you what worries me the most. I was with a friend of mine who was former military, did several tours, been all around the world protecting our country, our democratic republic. And he said something to me that really hit me hard. When are we going to wake the fuck up? When we have another attack on U.S. soil? When more service members are killed? He explained to me, for example, that we have B-2 bomber right now that's flying over Yemen. That costs about $3 billion. We've had a whole slew of drones shot down over the last couple of days, but there's like 70 plus people on that B-2 at any given time. And this schmuck Hegseth, once again, is providing operational war plans, this time to his wife, to his brother, to his lawyer. Everybody's got to send operational war plans to their lawyers. And there's dozens of other people that are on that Signal chat. What makes it even worse, my friends, is that these are the only two so far that we know. Conversations that I've had with people who are on the inside say that there's almost 24 of these sort of messages. And we got to say to ourselves, at what point in time do we say that this man is incompetent, he is incapable, and he is a danger to our national security? And I just don't know when. I just don't know when this is going to happen. And my prayer is it doesn't happen when it's too late. And for putting Americans, our service members, in jeopardy, Pete Hegseth has to be the one who gets the two-finger salute for just being fucking stupid. So, Pete, fuck you. On behalf of everyone here in America, fuck you.
There you have it from Michael Cohen. Want to remind everybody to subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe there. Also, make sure you check out Michael Cohen's other podcast, the Mea Culpa podcast, of course, here in the Midas Touch Network. Just search Mea Culpa wherever you get your audio podcasts. Check that out. Patreon.com/Political Beatdown is where we will have our Zoom chat next week. It's been so crazy, so we should have done it sooner, but we'll make sure we do it on Tuesday. We apologize for not doing it sooner. We'll post it on Tuesday. Patreon.com/Political Beatdown, and we'll see you next time on Political Beatdown. Have a great weekend. I have the show with my brothers tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Check out that show, and we'll see you next time. Stay in the fight. The power of the people right now is growing, and Trump is getting weaker and more desperate, and that's a testament to all of you. Stay in the fight. It's okay. You want to take a little rest here and there, all good, but stay in the fight. You're doing great, and we really appreciate everything that you're doing. We'll see you next time on Political Beatdown. We got more videos dropping here on the Midas Touch YouTube channel, so check those out as well. Shout out Beatdown Brigaders and shout out Midas Mighty.